investment opportunities in sports and esports. What's next?
Guys, we're going to talk about investment opportunities in sports and esports. I'm going to have the panelists do 30-second intros on themselves. Just, I want to get a sense of who's now in the audience. I was on a panel this morning, and I want to see who's here now. How many of you are fans of esports? You watch professional video gaming somewhere? Okay. And traditional sports fans, what I lovingly call meat sports. Okay. And the rest of you are here because of the frigid temperatures in this room. Okay. All right. Guys, I'll have you introduce yourselves. Lucy, please. Ladies first. Quick intro.
Flip it up.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am an investor, so usually in tech, and for the purposes of our discussion today, obviously in the gaming and esports realm.
I'm Klaus. I'm the founder of YaLLa Esports, and we run a esports circuit in Counter-Strike called the YaLLa Compass. But being around in the esports and maybe sports as well scene for quite some time, so I guess that's why I'm here.
I'm Klen. I work for YOLO Investments. We have a €100 million fund, which is focused on gaming, fintech, and crypto, and right now very actively deploying in the next 24 months.
So guys, let me start with, I always like to start the topic, investment opportunities in sports and esports. In your minds, who should be investing in sports and esports? Like, who should be investing? Is it government? Is it private investors? Is it VCs? Is it gaming studios? Is it publishers? Who should be the entities that are deploying money in sports and esports in your mind?
So very quickly, so Paul, obviously it's called an ecosystem for a reason. So government money, and to your point, I know that we've poured a lot of money in through the governments, but I think of government money as de-risking for the rest of us, right? If a government's all in, then we should be all in. The thing that dismays me is I don't think there is enough of the rest of us, and maybe we should be reaching out to key opinion leaders also to add to that group. But we really need more private money.
Yeah, I maybe take the esports hat here, but it's not also only like investing dollars and money. You need to invest in the ecosystem and the players and build the community and all that, because without that, there is hard to make return on investment on the esports.
As like a general rule, I think private sector is always more better positioned to invest into any industry, especially. Okay, so I think this might be like one of the few areas where this might not be the case, as the Arab Emirates has shown that they can incubate infrastructure projects very successfully, and it seems they're betting that esports is one of those projects that will have a return on investment. I don't think it will come from esports. I think it will come from tourism and other things related to esports, but just from a VC perspective, I don't think the numbers justify an investment. If you just look at high level, it's like 600 million viewers of esports. There's tens of thousands of, probably millions of players. There's tens of thousands of players that actually get paid to do this. There's no player who has earned more than 10 million. There's less than 200 players that have earned like close to 1 million, which kind of means that economics isn't there at the moment. And if we look even higher level, the publicly listed esports companies, none of them are doing good. Like the revenues are down year over year despite the growth in the viewership. So I don't see at this moment private sector investment into esports being a smart bet to make unless you provide the infrastructure, the rails for the government to spend on.
So let me just paraphrase and stop me if I get it wrong. You have to be an idiot to invest in esports, so therefore only governments should invest in esports.
I think you have to sell picks and shovels when there's a gold rush, and investing into that infrastructure is the smart bet for a VC like us. And that's, I don't know, just to bring like a random example, Odin, which provides the infrastructure for a lot of esports gaming, is a smart bet for us.
I'm curious then, that's a good sort of segue to Saudi Arabia, where a lot of the money for esports in the region is coming from. They're investing heavily, actually not just esports, also in traditional sports as well. How would you guys qualify that? Is it big brain? Is it big mistake? Is it, is this going to blow up in their face? Or will they be able to build something sustainable for the long term that either has, direct financial return or sort of fuzzier things like tourism?
Yeah, no, I mean, the real reason, Paul, it is employability for the youth, right? I think that the Saudi, and they're looking at long-term, they're looking at, like Klaus said, the entire value chain of esports, right? That includes employability in the future. That includes AI, and I'm going to talk more about AI. I actually think it's an AI play.
Interesting. The Saudis play specifically?
Saudi's play specifically is an AI play.
Interesting. Okay. We'll come back to that. I think that's interesting. Klaus, I'm curious your take on this.
Yeah, I know. Look, I'm gonna try to not fall into any traps here or so, but I mean, it's a very divided topic. To be honest, I do think that they are doing a lot of good things there, and like I've been working and building in the esports scene since 2016 here, even a bit earlier, and honestly, before the government started to pay interest, whether that was like just giving almost like a seal of approval, it was really hard to I mean, like, let alone raising money, but just telling a parent that, it's okay that your kid, can invest their time into this. So I think what Saudi and the governments in the region are doing is definitely positive. Are they doing it the most efficient way? Probably not, because they don't maybe have the right kind of knowledge or expertise, or they don't come from the industry. But they are not also probably not thinking on the return on investment or maybe optimizing their investment at this stage. It's more about just kind of get it going, and then you'll optimize later.
To Lewis's point, I think they have the privilege to think in decades, not quarters, as opposed to traditional equity funds. I think if we look back, like US also did this with their like sports leagues that are now like huge moneymakers for America, right? So they can't do their own NHL or NBA. They have to do something different, and I think they have decided that esports will be that differentiator for them. They've also done a lot of investments in F1, MMA, and so forth. So I think for them this makes sense, and I think there will be a return on investment. Again, I don't think that will come directly, it will come indirectly. Even like just having more power in the political scene. They hosted the World Cup, right, in Qatar, and so forth. So I think for Saudis, this does actually make sense.
And it's interesting because he made a point that they can think in decades. I spend a lot of time working with governments. I found in some ways the opposite to be true, that while there are visions that span decades, the reality is regimes change, people change within governments all the time, and priorities change, especially when success doesn't happen quick. When the wins don't come quick enough, it's hard to have enough political capital to keep putting money behind something. I guess my fear is, whether we agree with the Saudi strategy or not to continue pouring billions into sports and esports, do you think they will be able to sustain it long enough for it to see financial success? Let's just have that as the benchmark.
I think the answer here is an easy yes. Like, for them, it doesn't matter if this pays off in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. They have the luxury of not having to change their vision because the political shift changes or whatever.
But we're seeing budgets being cut in a lot of projects in Saudi, right? Qiddiya, Neom, we've seen budgets being cut already. So while resources may be infinite, sometimes the will is not infinite.
That's a very fair point.
And I think maybe, Paul, maybe there would be a pivot of where the money goes. And I had the chance to hear you speak a few weeks ago. that, yeah, does it make sense to have a $60 million pot? Is that where the money should be going? Let's train our youth. Let's upskill them. So I think there will still be writ large, focus on esports and sports, but whereas the money will be deployed differently.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's not a Saudi government problem to make money on esports. Like, as we said before, there are publicly listed esports companies that are struggling to make esports a profitable business. So I think it's kind of like, I mean, okay, fine, it's not the Saudi government's goal probably to try to like make return on investments in dollars right now, but it's also not like that they are the only ones who are like doing stupid investments in esports and everybody else is making money. I mean, it's quite hard. It took some time for us to also crack it. I used to say like esports events is the worst investment ever. You need to pay the prize pool, accommodation, blah, blah, blah. And then, things change and now we kind of have made a way to make a sustainable business with esports events. So
Klaus, let me put you on the spot then. How do you make it?
Great.
How do you make it financially sustainable? How do you make it profitable at an ecosystem or industry level? And you cannot use the word tourism. I'm forbidding you from using the word tourism.
I love that because I'm definitely not going to use that, actually. Look, I'm not going to maybe give away our whole secret sauce, let's say. But first of all, I can give you buckets. So first of all, sponsorships is actually, it's a pillar, but it's like a 20-25% pillar, right? Then you have, for example, data rights, working with companies like Odin that you mentioned, media rights, like our events are broadcasted in 15 languages, Olympic style, around the world. And each, obviously, let's say a market like, I don't know, China or Brazil or Russia pays more than Finland. We do have a Finnish broadcast, but that's probably more family and friends because I'm from Finland. So yeah, it's the media rights, the data rights. Yes, there is like a city partnership, but that's also almost more important to just, let's say we need a visa for a player. It's quite helpful that the city or the government is helping with that, not about like throwing money. So there's a lot of also, let's say, value in kind things that then make my P&L better. If I get the hotels, the venue, the flights, these things help. So yeah, but it's not sponsorship, which is always what I hear the first, like, oh, you must be really good at selling sponsorships. No, it's the whole thing. And then you have the publisher there sometimes supporting as well, obviously, because esports is a cost center, period, for the publishers. It's like a way to give maybe back to the community, but if you give it to a smart third party, let them figure out how to make money with your IP. That's the win-win.
You guys have thoughts on how you get this to a place where everyone's making money? Again, without and the whole stack. I mean, like nations, governments, private companies, people selling picks and shovels, the tournament organizers, the publishers. How can everyone in the stack hopefully make money from this and the industry thrive and be financially sustainable long term? Again, without the mention of tourism.
Yeah, I can speculate. It seems a lot of the top esports players are pivoting towards doing their own personal streams as well, and these streams are getting a lot of views. Viewership usually does translate into dollars at some point, so that's one angle. I think the more interesting or probably out there options is platforms like Kick for Twitch, which now Kick announced that they're going to go open source, which means it's effectively an embedded platform. Embedded is a more popular term in finance, which effectively just means that taking a financial service or product and integrating it natively into a non-financial service or product, which an example would be like Starbucks with its loyalty program. I could see a very similar path for Kick, for example. Developers wanting to monetize, again, private companies, building on these streaming platforms where these top esports players already are streaming, and then finding whatever that monetization is. I don't know what that is. Of course, from my background, I would say it's gaming related, but it can be something completely new as well.
Look, for me, it's very simple. The media industry is broken. look at traditional sports. Like we are kind of the broadcast is a one size fits all. Like there's this one director sitting somewhere pressing like which camera is showing, and everybody looks at the same football match the same way, and then that's behind a $10, $20, $50 paywall. Like esports is for free, and I think traditional sports actually will kind of have to get to this model where then you figure out how to monetize and kind of like give a personalized experience. I think that's the big problem. Once the media industry evolves, and I'm building something maybe in the space to try to help that, and gets closer to the esports model, then it's not even only an esports problem. It's then also like a sports problem.
I guess I also feel that, like traditional sports, the sponsorship money does have to come in, and it's happening, right? Non-endemic brands, I think that's the sweet spot, and it always goes back to where's the money going, so we can all make money, right? Whether you're a streamer or you're a gamer, you're a non-endemic brand, you're an endemic brand, but we have to make it sexy enough that the sponsors are coming in big time.
I just want to double click on what you said, Klaus, because I think you're like 100% right. The traditional media in sports in general is broken. Like the broadcasting system, I don't think even the like older generation actually watches the broadcast. It's just in the background somewhere. Like one of the first investments we did from our fund too was a non-traditional media company in the sports space. It's called Forever Network. They have about 5 million total audience, and it's all on Instagram. So they've built like actual engaged communities as opposed to the traditional broadcasting system where I don't follow the news like that, but I do follow their Instagram, and I get my information from that, and I make my decisions on who do I bet on based on that.
Interesting answer, and based on that, maybe I can guess sort of your thoughts on the next question, which is there a specific sub-segment or microcosm within sports and esports that as investors, if you all put your investors hat on, that you're most excited about, that you think people in the room should be excited about, thinking about, where you think there's lots of opportunity?
Yeah, so interestingly for me, it's media platforms and advertising. So because there is so much, there's so many different forms. There's there's still so many brands that don't understand how to get the effective reach, and I would invest in the advertising companies that can inform them.
Simply put, disrupting piracy, because piracy is not a problem, it's a proof of demand with personalized advertising. So you can I'm going to leave it at there, but we need to talk after this panel.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, non-traditional media channels, which are community-based, is one of the key areas for us. And then I would just call it like embedded gaming then. So building on top of existing communities, which Twitch is a community of streamers. If you can build on top of that, then you already have the audience there. You're removing friction in sending them to any other platform. So those are the two key pillars that we're looking for.
Interesting. All of you are pointing fingers at the media side of the industry. I think that's fascinating. It's the first time I've seen such consensus in terms of where the opportunity lies.
But going back to where I'm saying we need more sponsorship money, like all other sports, if we don't get the eyeballs, we're not going to get the sponsors. So it has to start with viewership.
Guys, if media is the microcosm or the subsector that you're most excited about, are there technologies that you're looking at? And Lucy, maybe this is what you were alluding to with the AI thing, but are there technologies that are going to enable that growth, the sort of esports getting to that next level?
So I really, Paul, I like really like seed level ideas in the tech space and in the gaming space. It's usually there's an AI component, and there always should be an AI component now, because that brings us back to big data. Right, whether it's player performance, viewership. For going back to Saudi, they want to be the AI hub in the world. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of the whole investing esports and gaming is an AI play, Like Tesla is not a car company; it's an AI company, and Saudi wants to be the owner of AI. They want to dominate.
Interesting. Any other technologies you guys are thinking about that are enablers for growth in the esports space?
Well, esports and sports space. So one of the big things with why the media is broken is because it's so essentially centralized and like the power is in the hand of a few. With, I'm a bit of a Web3 maxi, so there is ways and kind of like a loyalty program model that you mentioned as well. There's a way how the media industry can be, the media rights basically in the media industry can be, let's say, distributed a bit more. And for example, you said viewership. Well, you can, for example, try to reward certain kind of activities like viewing in different ways. So, blockchain technology, it has its place, even if it's a bit overhyped.
Yeah, I'll just expand on the media microcosm here. So our end goal is not just to have this media center. The goal is to actually have like a full ecosystem. So the next step for the company I'm invested in, the Forever Network, is to actually build out products. So they don't send their community to other platforms, but they actually send it to their own platform. There's like two underlying reasons there. First, if you send them to other platforms, there's always friction. And then the second one is purely economical. So you gain all the share from those wallets. So that's the end goal for us with this media place.
Guys, we have just a couple minutes left. I always like ending on a vision of the future. The future is kind of my brand. So give me a vision of the future in terms of the opportunities around sports and esports. Give me something that's going to blow the minds of the people sitting in this audience if you can. Something for them to be thinking about when they leave here, something to get excited about. What does this future look like? We're sitting here, let's say, 10 years from now. Klen, yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. But I don't think this is mind-blowing for everyone, anyone to be honest. But one of the niche areas that we're looking at, because we believe that's underutilized, is I don't know how to call them, like third-tier sports, like sports where you wouldn't expect to be a lot of viewership, but
like curling.
I would call that like tier 2 probably.
Oh, okay, wow. That's generous. That's generous.
Tier 3 would be taking a bunch of random people, putting them in a hall and making them play ping pong, for example, or making them play like...
Okay, so Mr. Beast videos. Okay.
Exactly,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you always like to do this. Let me try. I think entertainment is a human right, and all sports should be free, just the way esports is free. And there is a world when you can have football, World Cup free next to Counter-Strike on one platform for free for everybody.
I like this. Very,
so I'm
very for the people view of the future. I like it.
So kind of like on the entertainment side, I'm also a big fan of board games. So I think entertainment will morph into where it really is not going to be physical stadiums. It will be more global, but not in the metaverse, but like where people can play different, they can collect things like digital cards for esports. So there's different ways of engaging in esports without watching esports.
I like it. Guys, big round of applause for our panelists.